Hi everyone, welcome to Newegg TV. My name is Paul and this is our tutorial on how to install Windows 8. Now there are a few ways to get Windows 8. This happens to be the retail box version right here, but whether you've purchased this from a store or whether you've purchased the upgrade directly from Microsoft and are downloading, I'm going to go through how to install the upgrade version on Windows XP, Windows Vista, as well as Windows 7. Now regardless of which version of Windows you're upgrading from, you're definitely going to want to back up your data beforehand. That's just always a good idea to have your data backed up. There's a few different ways you can do this. One of the best ways is going to be an external hard drive such as this one right here. You can also use USB flash drives like this one if they have enough space on them. And if you happen to just have a DVD burner, you can always use blank DVDs to burn your data to. If you've never backed up your computer before, you might want to do a little bit more research, but a quick demonstration here. You're going to usually have documents and you might have applications, and those are probably the two things that you'll want to back up. Documents is going to be stuff like important personal files, writings you might have done, tax records, that sort of thing. Pictures, of course, is another big thing. Pictures and movies you might have backed up. Typically, those will be stored in the My Documents folder, whether you're using Windows 7, Vista, or XP. So if you navigate to Documents, you should have your documents stored right there. They might be in other locations on your computer, so bear this in mind. Also, when you're upgrading from Windows 8 will automatically keep your documents, and then in some cases it might actually keep your apps as well. But once you've located those, you simply want to drag them over to your backup location, wherever that may be. In this case, it's on my Corsair thumb drive. So I just drag it over to backup, wait for that to copy, and then you should be backed up. In this case, I'm using USB 3.0, so it was very quick. Now once those are backed up, you also want to pay attention to what applications you might have installed, because you may need to reinstall them, particularly if you're upgrading from XP or from Vista. Now applications might have installers, so sometimes you want to save the installers for your applications like so. If you're not sure what applications you have installed, you can navigate to your computer, go to your local drive, and if you're using x64 or x86, you'll probably have program files, sometimes program files x86 as well. And you can look in here and see which programs you actually have installed. Also, you should just sort of keep in mind in general what programs you use quite frequently. Now, if it's a simple program such as Firefox or something like that, it's an application you can simply re-download from the internet. You don't really need to back those up. But if you have programs that you've installed, especially if it's a more heavy-duty program such as the Adobe Creative Suite that I have right here, you'll definitely want to make sure you have the installer disks for that on hand, as well as any CD keys that you will need to go through the installation process once you've upgraded. So now that you have all of your data as well as your applications backed up or saved in a separate location, the next step is going to be actually proceeding with the installation, and you need the software to proceed with that installation. So a few different ways to get that. If you have the retail package like I do right here, it will come with the software included on a couple disks, and these are clearly labeled 64, that's for 64-bit, 32, that's for 32-bit. You should use the version of the software that is compatible with the existing operating system on your computer. So if you're currently running 32-bit Windows 7, for example, you should upgrade to 32-bit Windows 8. If you're running 64-bit, you should upgrade to 64-bit. If you're not sure, you can simply right-click on My Computer, go to Properties, and that will show you which version of the operating system that you have installed. Now, if you don't have the retail package with the actual disks to install off of, there's a couple other options for you. You can download an image of these disks, either one, and you can actually install that onto a CD key, like this one right here. In order to do that, you can actually use the Microsoft Windows 7 USB key tool, and I'll show you where to get that. The other option that you have is to actually download the installer package, which is a small file from Microsoft, and that will go through the installation and then download the operating system on the fly. I'm just doing a quick search for Microsoft Windows USB tool, and the first link right here that's not an ad will take us to the Microsoft Store, where you can download the Windows 7 USB DVD download tool and follow the instructions to create the USB disk. It's going to the Windows site, heading to Download and Shop. Under Buy Windows 8, we have the download link, and that will automatically allow us to save the Windows 8 Upgrade Assistant. So first off, I'm going to demonstrate an upgrade installation from Windows 7, and I just wanted to double check before I go ahead with the installation whether I'm 64-bit or 32-bit. I can look in System and Security and System Info. This is 64-bit that I have installed, so I've taken my 64-bit Windows 8 ISO that I downloaded from the Windows site, and I used that USB tool creation tool to create this USB key for the installer for that. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, and from there we can proceed with the installation. It will pop up, and I'm just going to run setup and click yes, and we'll have the Windows 8 setup assistant start to run. Now, since I've got the entire ISO loaded on this USB key, it's not really going to need to download anything except for a few updates. But see, it will give us that option right when it pops up. Go online to install the latest updates now. We want to select yes for that because we want to have the latest version of the installer ready to go. And Windows 8 setup needs to restart really quick. And the first thing you're going to need to do is install your product key. So that product key, if you got the retail version, is located in this little tab right there with the key on it. If you downloaded it, then you should get that product key in information sent to you by Microsoft. After you've entered your product key, you'll have some license terms to read over and agree to. And then you have some options for what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. Now, since we're updating from Windows 7, it's giving me the options to keep personal files only or keep nothing. In this particular case, I would want to definitely keep my personal files, and since it's not giving me the option to keep my applications, I would want to make sure I have those on hand so I can reinstall them after the upgrade is complete. It's going to give a quick review of the installation options I've chosen, and next I'm just going to hit install, and it will run through the installation process. And this actually, it's going to depend on the speed of your computer, but in most instances I've tried so far, it's pretty quick. Okay, so we're on to the next step in the installation process. We're only, I'd say, less than 10 minutes gone so far between the switch over from Windows 7 to Windows 8. Went through a few system restarts, but this is the first time it's prompted me for anything, and this is just basically a color picker. So whichever color options you like, you can choose, hit next, and then from here you can choose your settings. The Express settings have all these features right here. You can go into advanced settings by hitting customize if you want. Just going to use Express for now, and then you will of course want to enter your system password, and from here you can actually sign in. Now bear in mind you have a system login which is similar to the Windows 7 one that I just put the password in for. You can also put in your Microsoft account ID, and that will allow you to save settings and switch over. So if you actually have set up Windows 8 before and you use the same ID, it will save those settings. I'm going to skip this for now. I will come back to it in the future. And now we're just going through some final setup procedures, and it will sort of take you through a guide for how to use Windows 8, because if you're jumping from Windows 7, there are some differences in the UI and how you get around. But we're going to save that for a different video. And there we have it. Windows 8 is now installed. We can see the modern UI menu right here. We can see the charms bar pop up, of course. All the settings have been saved from our initial installation. We can jump over to the desktop if we want, just like so, and we can jump back and forth to the start menu. But there's our Windows 7 upgrade. Next we're going to be upgrading from Windows Vista. So now we're taking a look at Windows Vista. I'm running Windows Vista Ultimate 64-bit, and again, just in case you're not positive, you can double check under System and Maintenance and your system. You can do that by right-clicking Computer and going to Properties, and you can get to this little bit of information here. 64-bit operating system installed right there, Windows Vista Ultimate. So that tells us what we're on. Another thing I've done prior to the upgrade is I've made sure that I have all the Windows updates installed. So I'm running Service Pack 2 of Windows Vista, and we should be good to go. Now from here, I just wanted to do a quick demonstration of how you would do the actual download version. So if you go to Download and Shop over here, you can go to Buy Windows 8, and then download Pro version. Currently it's $39.99, although I think that's a limited time offer. You can click on that, and that will take you to download this little installer right here, the Upgrade Assistant. And if you run that, it's going to take you through a very similar installation procedure to when I showed you guys installing off of the my thumb drive with Windows 7. But here we can see 8 of the apps are compatible. There's a few items for us to review. Also, we'll need to reinstall compatible apps and devices in Windows 8. So again, very important to make sure you have your application installers saved, as well as any CD keys or application licenses that are necessary. We're going to hit next from here. We can choose to save settings and personal files just like we saw before. And from here we'd hit next again. And then since this is a download version, it will take you through an actual checkout process. So you can order the $40 version right here and download, and that's a 2 gig download. You would just go through the checkout procedure. You can also opt to have them send you a Windows DVD, and then you would get a retail box version just like the one that I showed you guys already. Now since we already have this, we don't want to go through checkout since I already have a key, so I'm just going to pop my USB drive back in, and we're going to go through installation with Windows 8 64-bit, just like we did with Windows 7. We're running setup. And here we're going to see the same installation procedure, and it's very nice that you can do an in-place upgrade. You don't need to reformat. Again, you're going to want to go online, get the latest updates for the installer, and then it will run you through the same installation. And of course, prior to installation, you will need to enter your Windows 8 product key. And here once again, we can choose to keep settings and personal files only, or nothing if we want to go with a clean installation. After confirming the details, we can go ahead and install. Then just as before, we're going to go through this installation procedure, which should take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer if you're running an older system. The computer will restart a couple times, and then it will be finalized. And just like with Windows 7, after I'd say about 10 minutes, we came up on our personalization screen, so I'm just going to choose a color. Again, settings options are right here, and I'm going to go ahead and use Express settings. You can also sign in with the email address here if you want to. I'm going to skip that for now and just use the local PC login. It'll finalize the settings. It'll say hello. It'll take you through a quick guide while it does final settings and setup for how to use the new Windows 8 UI. And then you'll be good to go. And once again, we've popped up here with the Windows 8 modern UI, and we're looking at the start menu here. Of course, we can jump over. So you can see it saved the folder I had on the desktop, so it did move, so the file I had on the desktop, it did move that over. And from here, you'd be good to go. Windows will automatically activate, and you can start playing around with the new UI. But we are moving on to our Windows XP upgrade installation. So we now have Windows XP all loaded up, and I do want to double check, of course, once again, which version of the software I'm running. Now, this is Windows XP. It's a little bit older. One thing I have made sure that I've done is I've done all the Windows updates, so we're currently running Service Pack 3. And with older 32-bit operating systems, it doesn't always tell you that it's a 32-bit operating system. So you'll notice here with the version of the software, it's not specifically saying 64-bit or 32-bit. If it doesn't say, or particularly if you're running Windows XP, there's a much higher chance you're running 32-bit. So I'm going to actually be installing off of the disk, my 32-bit disk that came with my retail package. And if you, again, aren't sure and you're downloading, go ahead and start with the 32-bit version. And then the Windows 8 installer should prompt you if you do need to install 64-bit. One key reason why you might want 64-bit instead of the 32-bit is you'll notice my RAM right here. I actually have 8 gigs in this system. You're going to have a lot, or you're not going to be able to recognize more than roughly 3 gigs of RAM if you're running a 32-bit operating system. So that is one reason why you might want to go with 64-bit over 32-bit. But I've installed the CD. It's got auto run, so it's going ahead and once again loading up the Windows 8 installer. Once the installer loads up, once again it's going to give you the option to go online and install the latest updates now, which is going to be your best bet, especially if you have an active internet connection. It'll restart the setup and proceed from there. And just as before, prior to installation, we're going to need to enter our product key. We agree to the license terms. We hit accept. And here from Windows XP, you have more limitations for what you can actually keep as you go from your old operating system to the new operating system. XP pretty much just lets you keep personal files, as the settings from XP do not translate over to Windows 8. One final check over how your installation is going to proceed. We click Install, and once again we get the full screen installing Windows 8 message. It's going to take a little bit longer loading off of the optical disc, the DVD that we have, rather than the thumb drive, but from here, once again, we'll just wait a few minutes for the installation to proceed. And once again, we have made it through the installation process to the personalized screen, so we're just going to choose a color for our installation. Going to go with Express settings once again, and again here's where we can punch in our email address if we want to, and then it'll do some last finalizing steps and we'll be in Windows 8 once again. And so here's the Windows 8 UI once again, and not a whole lot different from the updates or other upgrades we did from Windows Vista or Windows 7. I do want to double check and make sure that my documents made it over, because that's the one thing that I wanted to bring over from the Windows XP installation. So if I pop up our libraries here from the Windows Explorer, I can go to Documents, and there they go. Important personal documents, and my pictures files, of course. There's all my pictures in there. And that is our tutorial on how to upgrade to Windows 8, whether you're upgrading from Windows XP, Windows Vista, or Windows 7. And one thing I noticed for all three is that they're all a very similar user experience. It's really nice that that Microsoft was able to make the Windows 8 upgrade a nice painless experience, no matter what you're upgrading from. And doing an in-place upgrade, even from Windows XP, well, that makes it a lot easier to do. A couple things just to recap. Please make sure to back up all of your data and make sure you have copies of all your applications prior to doing your upgrade. Also, make sure you know which version of Windows that you currently have installed so you can update to the right version, whether you're using a 32-bit or a 64-bit operating system. And also, I would definitely recommend trying out the install from a USB key option, because it's much faster, for one thing, rather than reading off of the optical discs and an optical disk drive. And it also gives you just a little bit more flexibility for how you want to do the installation. That's all for this video. I'm Paul with Newegg TV. This has been Windows 8. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.